PowerShell is an essential tool for anyone managing Windows. Be you a systems administrator or an average turbo nerd, you're probably going to need to know it. Thankfully, PowerShell isn't that hard to learn, but if you're anything like me, you hate reading documentation. So I've made this series for you. We'll cover the basics of PowerShell, variables and data types within PowerShell, how to write scripts for PowerShell, and we may even go a little bit further. But first, let's talk setup. PowerShell is likely already installed on your device, but it may be a version behind. I've left a link for the installer in the description, as well as this fancy PowerShell command you can run instead. PowerShell 5.1 and PowerShell 7.2 are treated as separate applications, so in order to launch PowerShell 7, you will have to actually type in pwsh. For writing scripts in PowerShell, we can either use Notepad or an IDE like Visual Studio Code. To make our workflow a little bit easier, we'll be using Visual Studio Code with the PowerShell extension installed as well. Other than those three things, that's about all we'll need to install, but we'll have to change one or two settings in our environment. What you can do in PowerShell is limited by user permissions. Some commands you can run just fine as an ordinary user, others not so much. Execution policy offers an additional guardrail restricting scripts from being ran. By default, execution policy is set to restricted, meaning scripts can't be run. For our purposes, we'll be using remote-signed execution policy, which will only run scripts downloaded from the internet if they have a digital signature from a trusted publisher. Any scripts we write locally, though, won't matter towards that. Now that setup's covered, let's talk concepts. Commandlets are tasks we can run inside of PowerShell's environment. They're formatted in a verb-noun naming convention and accept data called parameters. Parameters are just values we can pass into a commandlet to change its behavior. For example, getService versus getService-displayname Xbox. Here, we use getService's parameter displayname to filter services that contain the term Xbox. Standard PowerShell uses around 2,000 commandlets. Not to mention any custom commands you have installed. It's going to be impossible for you to memorize each and every one of those. But thankfully, PowerShell has a few other commands to help us out. Get command helps us locate commands based on keywords. For example, if we wanted to find any command with service in its name, we could run get command name service. When we want to know a little bit more about a given command, we can use get help, which gives us a description of the command as well as its parameters. If this is your first time using PowerShell, you may have to run update help to download all the help content for PowerShell. Some PowerShell commands, like getService, return an object as an output. We can actually feed that object into another command using the pipe operator. This is fittingly called piping. To view more details about the object getService returns, we can pipe its output to another command, getMember. getService pipe getMember. getMember will give us the properties and methods of the object it returns. Properties just describe an object, and methods are actions that can be performed on an object. In summary, using getMember, we're able to get a full picture of an object and grasp what we can do with it. getMember can be used to get the details of any object, including objects saved in variables. Variables serve as a storage container for a bit of data. In PowerShell, variables are just defined with a $sign followed by the name of the variable. To see the value of a variable, we simply type the name of the variable. As an example, the profile variable shows us where our PowerShell profile configuration file is. The default value of any given variable is null, nothing. We can also set variables or define our own variables. As an example, today equals Wednesday. If a commandlet returns a value, we can also use that commandlet to set a variable. We can set today equal to getDate. We can also remove a variable we have defined in our environment using removeVariable, and then specifying the name of the variable. Variables come in various data types, including booleans, integers, floats, and strings, to name a few. To see the variables in our environment, we can use the getVariable command to return all of them. Beyond user set variables, there are a number of variables within PowerShell that are used and set by PowerShell itself. These are called automatic variables. These define certain attributes of PowerShell's environment and shouldn't really be changed unless you really know what you're doing. The most common one for script writing is $_ or $PS item, which just stores the current object in a given pipeline. We'll touch on this one a little bit more in a future episode. Another common automatic variable is the null variable, which is often used to set a variable to nothing or to compare a given variable to nothing. One subgroup of automatic variables are preference variables. These variables just change the output streams from functions. For numeric variables, we can use a number of different arithmetic operations on them, including addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, or modulo, or remainder. We also have a number of different logical operators, greater than, less than, but we'll touch more on these when we get into pipelining, where they'll actually be a little bit more useful. Sometimes we will want to store variables in a list and have them in a particular order. For this, we can use an array. To make an array, we define it like any normal variable, except we include in its definition an @, open parentheses, and then list each element separated by a comma, close parentheses. Arrays are best used for small collections of a fixed size, usually less than about 100 elements. To add elements to an array, we can either use myArray equals myArray plus the element we want to add, or myArray plus equals the element we want to add. To remove an element, we can use myArray equals myArray ne and then the element we want to remove. Because arrays in PowerShell are a fixed size, whenever we want to add or remove an element, PowerShell destroys the entire array and then recreates a new one with the element either added or removed. Because of this, if arrays get too large, you will run into performance issues. Thankfully, we have a tool just for this use case. For unknown dataset sizes, or when we need that extra flexibility that arrays don't have for adding or removing elements, we can use an array list. To make an array list, we actually have to make a new object specifically of type ArrayList. To add an element, we can use the method add. We can also add multiple items using the addRange method. To remove an item, we just use the remove method. The remove element will only remove the first instance of that element. If we want to remove an element at a given index or position within the array list, we would have to specify the number. The core benefit of arrays and array lists is to have a piece of data associated with a position in the list, but sometimes we need a way to associate two different pieces of data. This is where hashtables come in. Hashtables are a list of key and value pairs and can be thought of as a dictionary, relating one item, a key, with another item, a definition. To make a hash table, we just define a variable, use the @ and a curly bracket along with our key value pairs, and then close the curly bracket. We can access from a hash table specifying the key that we want to grab the value from. We can also use dot notation for this. We can also use the properties of the hash table to list all keys and all values of the hash table. To add to a hash table, we can use the method add, or we can specify it and set it like a regular variable, just specifying its new key and value pair. Before we add to a hash table though, it's best practice to see if that key already exists. We can also modify data at a given key with an equal sign. To remove an item, we can simply use the remove method and specify the key we want to remove. Sometimes we have to create our own objects with specific properties and methods. These objects are called custom objects. Custom objects are defined a little bit differently than other variables within PowerShell. We define them like a hash table, but we tell PowerShell to treat them like a type called PS custom object. This is called casting. In this example, my custom object equals, and then we cast to PS custom object, and then we define it like a normal hash table. Username and legal name here are properties. If we forget, we can also add properties after the fact using the add member commandlet. We can also add methods. Here, we define a method as a different variable, get legal name, and we use return, and then we just return a string of variable this dot legal name. Now, don't get too hung up on $this. That is just a contextual variable. It references what is being talked about. So if we look down at the next line, we can see this is going to be equal to my custom object, because we can see my custom object is piped into add member. And with that, your custom object is made. So far, we've covered the basics of PowerShell and data types within PowerShell. Next episode, we'll cover the pipeline, logical comparisons, flow control, and actually writing scripts, so subscribe so you don't miss out.